All right, let's get our Facebook groups in here before it's time to start the show.
It's time to start the music.
Okay, all right. It's what is that? The Muppets?
The
The
Muppets.
Muppets
It's
show?
time to light the lights.
Classic.
It's time to get things started on the Muppet Show tonight. Don't
Well,
don't ding us on that YouTube, please.
yeah.
I'm just having fun.
I think Scott should open up every show like that. Welcome in, everybody. It's Thursday morning, the 26th. It's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, in these morning shows, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how you doing? Are you looking forward to tonight's game? I can't even tell you who's playing. It's Thursday Night Football, right? It's the
I don't
Bucks.
know who's playing.
It's
I'm
not the
looking forward to
Broncos.
it. It's kind of like it's turned into like programming. It's like, well, what's you're gonna watch? Growing up, Thursday night was Cosby Show, and then what came on after that? Frasier, I think, and then it became Friends, or not but Cheers. It was Cosby Show, Cheers, and then it became Friends and so Thursday night was programming. That's kind of how it is now. It's like, what's the show about? I don't know. I'm watching. Who's playing?
Yeah.
I don't really even know. I don't because I'm not playing fantasy football, so I haven't had to set a lineup. So I'm just Bucks and Bills. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested. So yeah, I'm watching. I just don't know who's playing.
Yeah, for Broncos country, if you're interested in maximizing every single ounce of draft order juice, you want the Buccaneers to win tonight because the Broncos play the Bills, and that strength of schedule is probably going to come into play whenever you're drafting. Broncos right now seem to be middle of the pack in that strength of schedule right now for the teams picking at the top. But yeah, that should be a fun game. Let's say hello to some people coming in here. We got Donald Willis in the house, and good morning, Nick Scott in Broncos country. Good to see you, Donald. Hope you're doing well. David says, it's been a long night in the hospital getting out today. I wish they would beat Kansas City, but I would not bet my house on it. Hope you're well, David. I don't know if you are in the healthcare industry or if something else is going on. I remember
No, David, he follows up on this, and he's had some trouble with his lungs. So hope you're doing all right, David.
Yeah, damn, man. I remember you mentioning, like, I feel tired. I'm not going to be here tonight. But, well, if your lungs aren't working that well, then that would make sense why you're not feeling so well. So hopefully you're feeling better. We got Jeremy Sean in the house saying, morning, boys. This is a game that even if you are wanting a top pick, you're okay with beating the Kansas City Swifts. Yeah, so we'll get into it. The possibilities for the Broncos in this game coming up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Last I saw, there was some snow in the forecast, which is pretty wild considering it was mid 70s last Sunday at the Packers game. But yeah, no, it's going to be fun to watch. Scott, to be honest with you, I mean, we're kind of following the draft order stuff. And if the Broncos had a top, 2 pick, that'd be a lot of fun to discuss the quarterback possibilities. But I don't really root actively for the draft pick until you're probably at about week 4 when things become really, really real. I mean, I'll never forget. There's 2 incidences that come to mind for me about you shouldn't have cheered for a loss. Okay, well, sliding glass doors, whatever the heck that show is. The Broncos beating the Raiders in would have been 2020, I believe, and it was a last minute. Shelby Harris batted down a 2-point conversion versus the Raiders to beat them. Okay, cool. Broncos end up going from pick 10 to 15. You could have probably had Tristan Wirfs there at pick 10. He ended up going 13. Instead, you get Jerry Jeudy at 15. I mean, a 5-pick swing based on a meaningless week 17 game. Woof. And the one that hurts the most is the other end. The Broncos return the favor, Scott. Broncos lose to the Raiders. Raiders fall from pick 2 to pick 4. Instead of getting Nick Bosa, they get Clelin Ferrell at 4. I mean, imagine Nick Bosa on the Raiders.
Here's the thing, dude. It's not about who you take, okay? Yeah, you didn't get Tristan Wirfs, but who could you have gotten at that spot?
Justin Jefferson.
Okay. So, again, let's go back to getting it right in the draft, which is hard. Yeah. I'm not saying it's easy. And doing that with hindsight is one thing. But your heart will not let you root in the moment against your team. It just won't. You can be a cynical SOB like me and be like, good, I knew they were going to blow this. Go ahead and throw the gopher ball and fumble, you freaking morons. But it's still a patch. You still want them to win. You're just kind of revel in the misery of losing sometimes. The more you suffer, the more it shows you really care, right? So, again, it's not that you didn't get Tristan Wirfs. It's that you didn't – Jerry Jeudy didn't turn out to be Justin Jefferson. If he did, then you're happy. Yeah. It works out just fine. And, again, we talked about this with some trades before. I'm sure there were players after the Raiders pick that were better than the one they did pick. It
Yeah.
didn't matter that they were picking 4. It matters who they picked at 4, because the Raiders have had a long, distinguished history of stinking up the draft here in the past few decades.
Yeah, there's a little bit of the randomness and volatility that comes the further from the top, right? Obviously, and Nick Bosa was about as sure thing as you could have had it in that class. But we returned the favor, and I think we actually did the better of the trade because Judy's much better than Clelin Ferrell, whatever the hell he's at these
I'm
days.
interested. I'll look it up. I'm interested. Who are the next 3 picks?
Devin White was one. Josh
Solid.
Allen, the pass
Okay, you would
rusher
have been
was.
better off there. So 2019, it goes Kyler Murray, Nick Bosa, Quinnen Williams, Clelin Ferrell. I thought he was an actor. Devin White, Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, T.J. Hawkinson, Ed Oliver, Rashawn Gary, Chris Lindstrom would be probably a top 5 or 6 pick in a redraft. So again, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons,
Brian Burns.
man.
Brian Burns should be there too, I think.
Montez Sweat was pretty good. So again, there's players to be had. It's about getting it right. But that said, when you're targeting a specific guy for a specific need, you need your quarterback. It feels a little different. It does.
Yeah.
It does feel a little different in that case. But you're not going to – and in this case, for sure, the streak – man, to hell with the draft picks. You got to end that streak. If it costs you 5 spots in the draft, I don't care. Neither do you. Win the game.
Yeah, especially at this point in the season. That's pretty much my main point. Weeks – we saw it a few years ago. The only case that I can ever think of a team that appeared to be actively tanking was the last game of the year where the Eagles played. They sat there starting quarterback and they played Nate Sudfeld, and it ended up flipping their pick by 6. And oh, well, we just wanted to see what he had. No, you didn't. That was one that
the Cardinals last year. You pointed that one out when they're cutting guys because they're cutting guys so they don't have to pay them a bonus, or because the pick would have accelerated or something like that. I mean, that's tanking. That is flat out tanking. You never want to tank. Well, there is a difference between building for the future and tanking, and sometimes they're one and the same.
Yeah. I'll never forget that Eagles game where it's they are straight up trying to get safeties and stuff, it looked like out there. But Bama X coming in here saying, good morning, Broncos country. Good to see you, Bama X. Jamal Killian saying, morning, Broncos country. Got Philip Hagginson in the house saying, good morning, everyone. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well, Phil. We appreciate you. We got Gary Palmer coming in with a 1999. Says, good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Always looking forward to Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Go Gary. We appreciate you coming in and supporting the show and getting the ball rolling on the super chats here today. Jesse comes in and says, does anyone know the over-under on how many times they will show Taylor Swift during the game? It probably would be, what would you set it at, Scott? 6.5, 7.5?
I haven't watched one of those. I don't pay attention to it. So the only time I've watched a Chiefs game is on condensed.
Okay.
So, and I've fallen down the rabbit hole of the Instagram reels where I spend way too long flipping through those. And if it says anything, even if it's a joke about, I'm starting to treat her like the sick bug. I'm like, I don't want to say it. I don't want my phone's in airplane mode. I don't want it to pick up. I scroll as quick as I can. I'm like, good Lord, enough. And nothing against her. It's just
not for you.
The overexposure it's enough. I don't care. I don't care. I want to watch football.
One and the same, Scott. One and the same. They're going to have to Taylor Swift suiting up here
name soon. A song of her. Oh, wait. There was one in the kids movie in Sing. I think it was. You see, you don't. I know the kids movies.
Yeah, no idea.
That Reese Witherspoon's character sang the pig.
God bless.
I think that was Taylor Swift. But I'm not into popular music. I just don't care.
Yeah, Scott's much more of a Chopin guy. Eddie Vasquez coming
closer than what they call pop these days, the canned pop music.
Eddie Vasquez, morning, y'all. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. We appreciate you. We got Aaron Wagner coming in saying, personally, the Broncos beating the Chiefs would be mostly bittersweet. Conspiracy theorist in me wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs let Denver win. That would inflict max pain to ruining my draft and keeping the teams mediocre. The Chiefs are not going to lose the game for anything with the Broncos. They don't give a hoot who the Broncos draft. They got Patrick Mahomes, right? I think that's kind of fun to talk about, but they're in the midst of trying to compete and secure that number 1 seed. And man, that number 1 seed is gold nowadays that you only have one team with a bye. I mean, if you can get that, cha-ching. So I don't think they're going to be doing that. There's just too many contenders in the AFC to do that. I mean, the Ravens look crazy.
The bye is actually beneficial in football, not so much in baseball.
No. Yeah. Sorry, Scott. RIP Braves. Who are you pulling for in the World Series?
I don't know who's in it. I think Michael said Arizona was in it, and then I don't know who won the other side. I think it was Astros and Rangers. After game one of the Braves against the Phillies, I turned it off, and I have not looked at it since game one. I've had enough. I'm like, I don't do playoff baseball. It pisses me off to no extent.
And I love playoff baseball, but I've had a lot of good experiences with the Cardinals. So you never know. We got Boogmeister coming in saying, oh, yeah, I caught the big dogs live. Good morning. Hope you all have an awesome day. It's snowing over here in Utah. Well, stay safe. Get that shovel. Yeah, we had some big snow come through the passes here in Washington this week. Yeah, Unique Prepping coming in here saying good morning. Good to see you. Robot of Doom.
Mr. Smouse is always a nighttime guy. So good morning. Good morning. Glad to have you here.
I don't recognize the name Unique Prepping. So good to see you in here.
Zachary Smouse. Because I always remember Chad saying Zach. Smouse in the house. I grew up with a Smouse family. John and Jason were the brothers, and they had an older one. So I always remember the name, and always in at night. So welcome in. Good to see you.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Robot of Doom saying 4 to 5 inches of snow, I'm assuming. Right now in Colorado, major fog in the area, 15 to 20 minutes away from the stadium. Well, hope to get to work safe. Scott has been sending me weather events. They had a super fog in New Orleans. Hopefully you're not dealing with any super fog out there in Denver.
Contracted the plague on my daughter. She's been wiped out since she got back after taking a couple huffs of that methane-filled swamp gas fog. She's been knocked out for 2 days since they got back from New Orleans.
I also saw there's a red flag warning in a lot of Colorado this week, so make sure you don't set any goddamn fires. And Scott's a little bit out of focus there. There we go. Keith Brugman in the house, and good morning, Nick and Scott. Dug out a foot of snow yesterday, another 6 to 8 inches in the morning. See, he prefaced that one with snow, so that's good to hear. Yeah, it's coming, man. Winter is coming. Holy Diver saying, hey, Nick is back. I assumed he got eaten by a bear. No, not eaten by a bear. Just didn't see any bears in Colorado. I don't think there's that many in Rocky Mountain. But nope, no bears for me. Not this time. I would, if reincarnation's real, I would love to come back as a grizzly somewhere in an Alaskan national park. But other than that, no bears for me. Ernie May said, hello, Broncos country only. And Michael Ronquillo coming in saying, good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Hope you're doing well. Joey, also just the conflicting nature. Oh, did I freeze there? I'm back.
Just for Joey, with the conflicting nature. It went okay.
It says, my wife was really confused when I was kind of mad that we won. Yeah, that's, everybody can fan their own way, but they don't understand the hope of a top draft pick, I guess, and the hopelessness.
This one's different. This week's different. Everybody should be rooting to beat the Chiefs. I don't care draft pick or not. If there wasn't the streak, I could say, okay, whatever. But this one's different. And frankly, again, like I said, your heart will not let you be unhappy if you beat the Chiefs. If you're a Broncos fan, I promise you. Oh, we could finally, beat the damn Chiefs. It's just a difference with a rivalry. You never want to lose to them.
Yeah, got to be nice to break that streak. Lance says a winless streak against the Chiefs has to be broken sometime. Why not this weekend? Why not this weekend? That'd be great. Quentin Caldwell says, morning, everyone. I wish I was at the meet and greet. We do too. We have a chance to beat the Chiefs. We have been keeping close to semi-close games with them. Yeah, the Broncos you've been able to throw out the records for the most part as far as the competitiveness of the games, even when the Broncos have been really bad. They've been able to hang with the Chiefs most of the time ever since the Vic Fangio era, which is, that's 4 or 5 years here, but maybe even 6 years. God. They have not been able to punch through. Maybe this is the week. The Broncos played the Chiefs significantly better than we saw what the Chargers did. They're coming off a win. The run game for Denver looks competent, maybe even a plus going forward. So, the Broncos have a chance. Why not this week? It'd be great to see them win. And they have a little confidence after playing them close last time.
Yeah, the offense has shown flashes. The defense is improving. We played them tight last time. I mean, again, there's a chance. The thing that if you can beat the Chiefs, you can beat anybody. Okay, but stringing together in back-to-back weeks and showing any kind of consistency is tough. If you beat the Chiefs and then go on the road and beat the Bills, now I'm listening. But that's 2 in a row. You think it was luck. Let's do it again. 2 in a row tells me something, but that's what made it so hard on yourselves, is losing those first 2 games that you shouldn't have lost. And now you basically have to beat the Chiefs and the Broncos if you want to have any kind of season. Or are we past that? I mean, I think most of us are pretty much past that idea. And we're focused on, okay, how high are we going to pick in the draft here? Just because of the bad start. If you're not going to beat the Commanders, if you're not going to beat the Raiders, are you really going to beat the Chiefs and the Bills in 3 out of 4 games in the second quarter of the season? It's going to be tough.
Yeah. I mean, this is the Broncos Super Bowl this week. If they win this one, I think everybody could, whatever happens the rest of the year. I mean, you could live with whatever result happens the rest of the year if you can beat the Chiefs here at Denver. Everybody's tired of it. I have friends, coworkers. Oh, you see Taylor Swift? I'm like, why did it have to be the goddamn Chiefs? So yeah, beating them would be very nice. I don't know what the spread is right now. We'll get into that here in a bit, but I think it's going to be a close game. We got Jay Rope, 8.5
would be my guess, just based on the home game. It was pretty close the last time. I'm guessing because it's the Chiefs, that might be a national game for me. I haven't looked at 506 Sports to see if what's on. 82.6% chance of winning for the Kansas City Chiefs. The line is -7. The over-under is 45.5.
Should be a good one.
So that's about, knock it down, 27-20, 26-19. About that is close to what they're predicting as far as the numbers go.
Should be a good one. So Scott would take the Broncos on the money line there if you think it's 8.5. We'll see who's all healthy. We can get into that too here, Scott. The Broncos injury report is about as clean looking as we've seen it in I can remember. Jay Roper coming in and saying, so either Sean has been incompetent in times or he's trying to tank, i.e. the timeout he took before half in the Chiefs game. I don't think he's trying to tank. I think it's just a little bit of rust and trying to figure out this team. So team is not super duper talented. I also think that Russell Wilson has been playing good statistically. I think he's been playing in a 10 to 18 range if you're ranking the quarterbacks. So about slightly above average. But he's leaving some things on the field as well. I mean, we can just see it. I think you can see the frustration with Sean sometimes as well with it, but it's getting better. We got Ruben coming in saying it's funny. Do people actually watch the games? We haven't beaten anyone. We had a soft schedule and we stink. What in your right mind thinks we have a chance to beat the Chiefs? I know we want to stop the streak, but come on now. You want to bet they win? I don't think so. So stop. Any given Sunday, Ruben. I mean, we just saw the results last week. Tyson Bagent and his arm wrestling father beat the Raiders. Nobody gave him a chance there. We had the Bengals beat the Bills. I mean, nobody really saw that one coming.
Even worse. It was the Patriots that beat the Bills.
Patriots beat the Bills, excuse me. And we had the Giants beat the Commanders. And the Vikings beat the 49ers. I mean,
the Vikings beat the 49ers. That's why you think you have a chance. Mm-hmm. Now ask us who we think is going to win. Okay?
Yeah.
Who do we think is going to win? We think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win. Does that mean they're going to? Probably. ESPN says an 83% chance. Does that mean it's an absolute? No, but if I was betting my life on it, I'd pick the Chiefs.
Yeah. You play to win the game. Parity is in the NFL. This isn't Alabama versus, Southern Baptist Children of the Blind state. You got a chance in the NFL.
Yeah, and you can take weeks off in the NFL. I mean, last year, the 49ers, they made it to the NFC Championship game, I think. 49ers got beat by the Broncos and the Falcons. Who did Jacksonville beat somebody the year before that? They think they beat the Bills in 2021. It happens. Do we think we're going to happen? No, but there is a chance. There is a chance. And why can we discuss what has to happen for the win to happen? A lot of things have to go right.
Yeah. Bad teams win all the time in the NFL against good teams. I mean, just one of my favorite examples is I think it was 2013. The Chiefs were on their way to having the number 1 overall pick, and the Packers were like 11-0 or something undefeated and went into Arrowhead and got smoked by the Chiefs. I mean, just sometimes it happens. They're professionals. So this is the NFL. We got Brian Dunn saying Broncos for breakfast starring Kendell, Kennedy, Statler, and Waldorf. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, this is sometimes I do feel like a Muppet. So that's definitely the vibe.
Did that one go?
No.
Yeah.
Those guys are the best.
I got that reference.
Yeah. No, absolutely the best. Andrew Lampy said, morning all, we'll have to watch later. It's Squat-tober. Thanks as always. Well, not skipping leg days. So hope you're enjoying Squat-tober. It's not many days left.
My son is enjoying. He's strong as a freaking ox and just got into weight training, and now he's enjoying that. At 14 years old, he's lifting more in certain lifts than I ever did. Do you think he's up to like 275 in squats? He's 14 and just started lifting in June. Could you do that? I'm like, dude, no, I never could squat 275, kid. You're strong. Quit fishing. And I told you were going to be bigger and badder than me. You're just not ever going to be meaner. Don't forget that. So he's enjoying it. Squat-tober. Like it. And then you got the mustache for Movember. Nick's already in there. It looks like Nick's frozen up a little bit on me. Oh, there he goes. Nick's way ahead on the November stash.
Yeah, good to see you. We also got Austin Ryder saying 2011 Cardinals were an all-time elite team. Yeah, very fun. I think Quentin's talking about being a Cub fan here, if I recall correctly. So getting a little baseball talk in there. Donnie coming in saying, go Broncos. We need to get the line right first, then maybe get a new defensive coordinator. Scott, I did a lot of digging into the data surrounding Russell Wilson and the offensive line this season. Mike McGlinchey's stats in pass protection are about as bad as you could believe. I think the Broncos right tackle has given up the third highest pressure rate of any right tackle in football so far this season. But left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, they're all playing at really high levels in pass protection. 60% of the pressures given up so far this season, you can either put them on the right tackle or the quarterback. And that was really the big data set. I mean, Russell Wilson third in time to drop back. He's had, I think, the fourth most pressures of when the ball comes out in 2.5 seconds or more, and the sixth least in 2.5 seconds or less. What does that say? A lot of the pressures and the offensive line losing out there is because the quarterback is holding onto the football. Now, that's not an indictment specifically on Russell Wilson, who's playing fine football this year, but more so his style of play makes the jobs of the offensive line significantly harder. Therefore, they look worse from time to time. So we have an offensive line that's been okay for Denver.
Some of that, though, this is the chicken and the egg. You know, when you're back there and you've never had the protection that you've really felt comfortable with, you start getting happy feet. You'd like to think it wouldn't happen to a veteran who's been around a long time, but he doesn't show a willingness or an ability to step up into the pocket and throw. And I'm sure he can. And that could be, you know, he leaks early. Mm-hmm. And historically, he's been able to outrun guys. He spins out, he moves out, he moves the pocket, so to speak. He creates a new throwing angles by getting out of the pocket. He's lost a step. People are onto that. And, you know, his protection coming from the right side hasn't been great. So he bails early, and that causes you to hold the ball longer. It's so, for me, it's, would he feel more comfortable? Would he get better if his right tackle got better? I think that would be one of the questions, because McGlinchey's not going to get better if Russ is getting rid of the ball quicker. He's still giving up pressures. But would Russell be better if McGlinchey starts blocking better? The answer for that one for me is probably yeah.
One thing I will say, and going back and watching the All-22 with both offensive tackles, honestly, but one of my frustrations with Wilson and the pressures that they're giving up is, and I call it the Trevor Siemian experience, the tackles have a landmark that they're supposed to get to in their dropbacks. And I see Bowles more so than McGlinchey, but both of those guys hitting their landmarks in their pass reps, and they have leverage against the pass rusher. Russell Wilson drifts or looks to escape out the back door. Well, once you do that, your angle is off. Speed rusher is just going to go right around you. It's a pressure. Well, I had my guy where I was supposed to be at the landmark, but guess what? When you move back, 3 yards, I lose that angle. And I saw that. Yeah, I mean, classic Russell Wilson trying to bail out the backside of the pocket and scoop around. But that's something that you watch that in contrast to like Kirk Cousins this last week, who's stepping up, always staying square, throwing balls, even though he's not an athlete, but he's always staying in phase. It's a different experience for the pocket related on-time aspect of the quarterback play that's very frustrating with Wilson.
And that's why you can't just look at stats. Oh, he gave up pressures. Did he? No, he did his job. The guy went to the outside. Well, after you go to the outside, if Bowles is dropping back and he's got his space in the pocket and Russell Wilson leaks, well, he's no longer in position to even block that guy. Yeah. He's gone outside of him, and now there's a straight line between the defender and the quarterback because the target has moved.
Yeah.
So Yeah, you got to know the stationary target and the quarterback. Mobile quarterbacks are going to have more sacks. It's counterintuitive, but that's the way it works. They're holding onto the ball longer. They're extending plays. They're moving outside of the areas where you can be in the pocket. They're moving out of the pocket that's supposed to be set for you. So they're typically giving up more sacks. A bad offensive line and a greedy quarterback like Matt Ryan got sacked a ton. He held onto the ball forever. Just willing to stay in there and take a beating. It's a little different.
Yeah.
But historically, the guys that got sacked the least are some of the most immobile quarterbacks ever. Dan Marino never got sacked. Had a lightning quick release and a strong arm. You couldn't get to him. Ben Roethlisberger, one of those guys too. So yes, a mobile quarterback will buy you more time. That's going to extend the time to throw stat, and he will also give up more sacks. You just hope he's making more plays. That's the key, Nick. Are you getting more plays downfield because of it? And for the first year and a half, for the last year, the answer was a definitive no, you are not.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're getting anything beyond average extension, even if you categorize by time to throw in this offense right now. But maybe that'll come. We'll see. Again, the discussion point wasn't more so Russell Wilson, I think, is playing fine football now for what you traded him, what is getting cost. Maybe not, but in a vacuum, he's playing above league average. I'd grade him as a B so far this season in the quarterback landscape. But the discussion around the offensive line, I think, needs to be a little bit more concrete with data and just variables that we can discuss. Pearl Heater saying hi. Good to see you, Pearl Heater. We always appreciate you. Keith Brugman with a good question here, and something I've been thinking about a lot. How big of a loss has Greg Dulcich been, both physically and theoretically? Thanks, guys. I mean, we've seen Jerry Jeudy, even though the volume is not high, I think he's been looking better, especially last week. Cortland Sutton's emerging. You like to see the reps out there with Marvin Mims. You're getting next to nothing pass catching wise out of your tight end position right now. Now, Adam Troutman was good in that pick play to Cortland Sutton, but as far as the reception ability, a tight end has been a black hole in Denver so far this season. And for how much 21 personnel and 12 personnel you're seeing out of Denver, and historically what Sean Payton has done with the tight end, I think that's a massive hole on this offense. Now, a lot of times when you have multiple weapons, you want a quarterback who can make multiple reads on the field and do some pre-snap stuff, which with Wilson seems to be more half field, the first read kind of stuff. So maybe having a plethora of weapons isn't as beneficial as having just a single dominant guy. But I think in theory, not having Dulcich in a tight end this season has been a big loss for the offense in many factors.
It's tough to tell for sure, Nick, because he's played so little. He started 7 games in his 2 years, but he has shown flashes, and he is a receiving threat, and he's a security blanket of sorts. Who, if I am in trouble, Nick, and I need to get rid of the ball quickly, I'm looking for the guy out there who's 6'4" plus in the middle of the field, within 10, 15 yards in that area. The security blanket aspect, I think, is missing, but it's really hard to tell. Kind of like saying, how much they miss Tim Patrick. We don't know. I mean, you can't count on these guys anymore. That's the problem. I'm not counting on Greg Dulcich for next year.
No,
I'm certainly not counting on, just like we went through the same thing with KJ Hamler preseason. We got, most people understood, but we got some, you're giving this guy crap because he's injured. I'm like, I'm talking realistically here. Yeah. If I'm the general manager, I cannot count on this person to put on they always say you are what the back of your trading card says you are. It's kind of a baseball talk. KJ Hamler is blank. Greg Dulcich is injured.
Caden
Stearns is injured. I can't trust those guys. I can't know at the end of the season, this is what I can expect to get. Because right now, what I can expect to get is an injury. So there's a lot of work. That's what I've said for the team building aspect. There's a lot of work that is going to be done in this offseason, and maybe in the next week. It could get started this week.
Yeah. Talking about this week, we have Troy coming in saying, hey guys, what are the best realistic scenarios for trades at the deadline for the Broncos? There is a little bit of buzz that I've heard for the Steelers making calls on Justin Simmons. I don't think anybody's going to pay what the Broncos want for Simmons. I think that their price is a third and they're not going to come off of that. So we'll see. It could be something like multiple day 3 picks where the package is equivalent to a 3rd round pick. But I don't think Simmons is going to get moved. I think it is possible that's one of the wide receivers. If I had my druthers, I'd probably be moving Jerry just because I want more physical players. And while Judy's an awesome man beater, I just want bullies out there. And I think Sutton's a little bit more of a bully than Judy. I wouldn't be surprised based on again, same with Simmons. We have a price. Nobody's willing to pay that. All right, we're going to keep our guys. The two right now that seem to have the most smoke and possibility, and you would be only getting like a 6th-round pick and salary cap stuff for these guys, but both linebackers, I think the Broncos would be okay moving on from either Josie Jewell or Alex Singleton to get Drew Sanders some reps and just get some money off the books and another dart. Really, it's not going to be a massive move. It's not going to make huge waves for the Broncos, but I think possible you could see Josie Jewell or Alex Singleton. Before I thought it was for sure Jewell, but it sounds like it could be either or from what I've heard.
I think the only player you're going to move that would return anything a day 2 would be Jerry Jeudy.
Oh, okay.
Anything other than that, I think would be below a day 2 because I don't think Garrett Bowles is going anywhere. I don't think you can't afford to trade him from we need to put a team on the field unless you go Cam Fleming. But again, I think you might be able to get a 3rd for Bowles, maybe. But I've said 5th for Simmons all along, and it's just not worth it this year. I'd rather have him for the rest of the season and then try and, if I have to get rid of him, then I make a cut and get that salary cap relief back next year. He's still a positive influence on this team. I'm not giving that away. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to pay me for it. And I don't think you're getting anything more than a 5th for him just because of the age and the position. And if you're a casual and you look at his numbers on PFF, why would we be giving up a 3rd-round pick for the 67th safety in the NFL? His PFF grade is pretty bad. We know better. We know what he's capable of, but he's not an all-pro safety right now. He's older, and it's a position that isn't of high value. So I've said from the beginning, this is where we differed, and we may never know what was offered for him, but I think his market value right now is a 5th. I'd rather keep him. For the rest of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Ken and HB, $10 super chat, says, my dog and I argued after the game. I was happy about the win. He had mixed feelings, but what does he know? He's a dog. Great show as always, guys. Thank you so much, Ken. And dogs know everything.
Dog was probably happy though. He didn't argue very long. He's like, to have whatever dogs know, they're happy animals for the most part. You give them love. I wish I was as happy as a dog.
And I've been told I have golden retriever energy. So who knows? We got Garth Knight coming in 999, says number 3 deserves all the criticism because he's a bad person. According to Sherman, McAfee, Rogers, all 3 mentioned are impeccable human beings worthy of questioning his character. You had me in the first half there, Garth, but then you turned it around. Russell Wilson seems like a good guy. He's not a top 5 quarterback, and we'll see what happens this offseason. Hoping he turns it further around. I hope he has a better game than he did the first one against Kansas City, which was one of his worst games of his career in Denver.
I haven't heard McAfee and Rogers be critical of Russell Wilson's character. That sounds out of character for an active quarterback for sure. McAfee, maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I hear this stuff from y'all most of the time when you bring it in here and I comment on it, but I hadn't heard that. That would seem really out of character for Aaron Rodgers to say, yeah, Russell Wilson's a bad dude. That doesn't jive right for me.
Yeah. I don't think I don't know anything about it, but thank you for the super chat, Garth. And
there's other stuff going on with Russell Wilson. He's too nice. He's an easy target. Who was it? Was it Ocho? The Emmanuel Ocho, is that his name? The linebacker for he played linebacker at University of Texas. That's where I remember him coming out of high school, and he's on one of the football shows now. But he had a soundbite out there. He was like, "Can we quit picking on the guy that's not going to fight back? It's tired." I'm like, okay, good for you.
Yeah, it's weird because
I'm listening. I'm just not understanding. Oh, I'm not listening to. Okay, but maybe not. Maybe I'm not listening, and Aaron Rodgers has been out there, but pretty much anything Aaron Rodgers says ends up making enough news that even someone like me that actively ignores it would end up hearing it. But, I've heard Aaron Rodgers saying, Sean Payton, keep your mouth shut. I heard that. but not necessarily him talking about. Again, it's very rare. It's more rare that an active player criticizes, especially the quarterback criticizes an active player, than it is a coach doing that to another coach, which we have seen.
Yeah. Probably we'll see again, but I think Sean Payton maybe learned a little lesson there. And talking about all these trades and possibilities, we did want to get into Albert Breer on Sports Illustrated reported yesterday that the Broncos are going to listen to trade inquiries on Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Garrett Bowles, Josie Jewell, Justin Simmons, and even Patrick Surtain II over the next few days. Scott, you and I, we've had this discussion before about all those guys. We have prices and whatnot. A lot of buzz from fans saying, "Oh my God, give up, a second-round pick for Patrick Surtain II." Everybody's available in the league. That's just kind of how it is for the right price. Obviously, there are contracts that make it feasibly impossible, but Surtain, yeah, he's available. If you give me, as you mentioned before the show, your young starting quarterback and 3 first-round picks. For me, I'm not even picking up the phone unless it's 3 firsts and a second this season as well for Surtain. And even then, it's like, I might need like a young possible building block player or a role player with him as well. So yeah, Surtain's available for the biggest trade for a defensive player in NFL history. Sure.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've gone through some of the. I think I saw it from the Steelers. The Steelers were talking about him, the Eagles, and I went through some of the comments on that. So, oh yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great. What would it cost? And then I'd be like, well, the starting point would be 2 first-round picks to get him to pick up the phone. And then it immediately comes, no way. I'm not giving that up. And people are over in love with draft picks anyway, so yeah, I'd send 2 first-round draft picks for Pat Surtain. Absolutely. If that was
I was in my window,
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
What did Jalen Ramsey, what was his? It was close to that. And
it was 2 firsts and a 4th, but he was older. He was being an absolute butt wipe in Jacksonville, and he only had 1 year of control left, where Surtain has 2. Right. So I'm telling you, it's 3 firsts plus a second, or get the hell off my phone. I'm not interested.
It was 2 firsts for Ramsey, and he wasn't as valuable.
No.
So and it's arguably Surtain's a better player. I mean, we'll leave that off of there and just say all pro corner. But financially, it made more sense. Age-wise, it made more sense. Teammate-wise, it made more sense. And Ramsey was getting 2 first-round draft picks. So you start putting that in the chat, people are like, no way. It's hard to talk anybody into 2 first-round picks for – people are so in love with the hope and the idea of draft picks. It's hard to talk anybody into multiple first-round picks for any player, let alone a cornerback. If we want to talk about Micah Parsons, where do I sign up? That's a little bit more tangible than a corner on the back end of the defense, what he can do. That's not quite as obvious as a wide receiver in his numbers or an edge rusher in his numbers. 2 first-round draft picks for me to even think about hitting that blinking line and saying hello is a starting point. And general managers would be smart enough to say, yeah, here's my first 2 picks, and here I'll throw you a 5th anyway. But it's in the world of fandom, they were getting real excited about that article that Pat Surtain is available till they started reading what it might cost to get him. They're like, oh yeah, he's not actually available at all, is he? No, he's not.
Yeah, I mean, available in a sense that it is going to take an unprecedented move. I mean, it's a quarterback trade. Yeah, to that extent. I mean, I'm trying to think like, who wouldn't be available? Patrick Surtain, but let's say like the Bills are sending Josh Allen plus 3 firsts. Well, then maybe I would take Josh Allen plus the 3 firsts instead of Mahomes. Right. But it's that kind of thing. So yeah, it's not happening. Unless somebody pays an unbelievable amount of money. You still have multiple years left of control with Surtain. And he's also your best trade chip. Let's say you absolutely fall head over heels in love with Caleb Williams in this draft. The only way you're moving up from 7 to 1, it's not with draft picks. You probably are including Surtain in that, and trading him in season means you have uncertainty with the picks. It's probably a team that's picking, 20 to 30 in reality if they're trading for Surtain this season. So I think it's probably better unless somebody absolutely blows you out of the water with a trade. I'm talking again 3 firsts and a round 2 pick this season to start. Then it's not happening. So again, and that's nobody's probably trading that. So
Pat Surtain is not available. Yeah, I mean in the real world of how we would discuss availability, Pat Surtain is not available.
Yeah.
Everybody has a price. No one's going to meet the price of the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
And if they do, it would have to be a move that Denver Broncos fans could say, you can't turn that down. Are you stupid? They're going to send you all that. That's an entire defense for us. That's a whole new offensive line. That's our quarterback. That's the quarterback for the next 15 years. It would have to be something like that. And that's not going to happen.
No.
The other one that I thought was interesting is on NFL.com, Kevin Patra today did the 10 best fits types for trades. And he had Cortland Sutton going to the Carolina Panthers. Now, how good a fit is that actually? If you're Cortland Sutton, do you really want to go to the team that's going to have the worst record in football? Is that where you want to go? I mean, I can see why it might make sense for the Panthers. It's okay. We need another receiver for our young quarterback. We're going to invest here. We don't have the number 1 overall pick. That's going to the Chicago Bears. But you've got an $18 million cap hit on Cortland Sutton next year. One, is he worth that? And two, can I ask for a restructure and extension? And would I be able to sell Cortland Sutton on, we want you to take this extension. Yeah, it's going to be less money per year, but it will be maybe more guaranteed over the long haul because we love your professionalism. We want you to come in and help these players become, and this franchise become who we think they can. That'd be your selling point. Otherwise, Cortland Sutton's going to say pound sand. So that trade doesn't make sense to me. Why would an 0-6 team make a trade for an older veteran wide receiver? That does not make sense to me at all.
They don't have their first round pick already. So they're not really have to worry about playing for draft picks, and they need to get pieces in there that are ready made for Bryce Young. I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm just playing devil's advocate. The one thing I have issue with is that I think Sutton is a little bit redundant to a lot of the weaponry that they have right now. They either need, I think a Judy or a True Burner would make a lot more sense for that offense versus Cortland Sutton, who's a big-bodied player, kind of like you already have Mingo, you got Thielen. They need speed and explosiveness. Now Sutton can bring that to an extent, but in a different kind of way. So I don't know if Sutton's a good fit for them. Now, obviously, if they're calling and say, "Hey, we'll give you a 3rd round pick. Thanks for your time, Sutton. We love you." But I don't know about the actual skill set fit with Carolina.
Yeah, it says Sutton, and Kevin says Sutton would give the Panthers the big-bodied contested catch wide out the offense desperately needs. He's under contract for the next 2 seasons, no guaranteed money, which should also be attractive for Carolina, giving Young a receiver to grow alongside. Sutton's older. Is he 29? Knocking on that door. I mean, he's in that window where I don't want to bring along. I don't want to be a stable pony. I want to win.
He just turned 28.
Okay, so he's young. He's still young. He should be in his prime. But if I'm in my prime, going for a 3rd contract,
yeah.
And I don't want to go to an 0-6 team. I don't want to go to a rebuilding team. I want to go to a contender.
Yeah.
And there's no guaranteed money, so they can cut me anyway. Again, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, if they offer a 3rd, then it's sayonara. I hope you enjoy the weather, Sutton. But we'll see. I just don't think from a Carolina perspective it makes sense.
Right.
And we'll see.
It would be the right move for the Carolina Panthers to give up that 3rd for Cortland Sutton, because you're not going to get the best out of Cortland Sutton. He's going to want to leave.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to follow. Right now, I'm more so keeping the guys unless somebody offers you a pick of value. I mean, just getting like a 5th on the books really doesn't do much for me. I need top 100 picks. And I don't know if you have a lot of that value. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. The one that I keep coming back to, I mean, maybe you can move one of the wide receivers. We'll see. Maybe one of the linebackers to free up reps for your 2023 top draft picks, just so you can get those guys experience and just a clearer pathway to playing time. But we will see. Circling back around here, Scott, the Chiefs game. Chiefs right now have one of the best, most well-rounded teams in football, according to the efficiency stats. They have the 4th best offense in the NFL in terms of EPA per play and the 6th best defense in the NFL. I believe they are the only team with both units in the top 10 so far this season. Okay, actually the Ravens as well, both in the top 10, but Chiefs are playing very good football, probably one of the most underrated defenses in football as well so far this season. What is the Broncos' pathway to a potential victory in a gauntlet win versus, like when we talk like, a terrible team going up against a college powerhouse? Oh, you have to win the turnover battle by 4, and they have to, multiple pick sixes, blah, blah, blah. What's the realistic pathway to a Broncos victory?
I think it's pretty close to what we saw in the last game. Win ugly. Get some luck in the red zone.
God, forget luck. Execute, for God's sake.
I mean, on the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, get a little lucky in the red zone, hold them to field goals, and keep it within one score at the end, and try and pull one out at the very end. What do we call it? Suffer ball.
Mm-hmm.
Ugly football. Control the clock, run the ball. Joey LaGuardia says it was nice when we used to find undrafted gems. Run the ball. Jaleel McLaughlin, an undrafted gem of a running back. Javonte Williams looks fantastic. Mike McGlinchey, his strength is running the ball. Right side, Quinn Miners running the ball. Again, and then it's the cliches. Then don't turn the ball over. And if you can limit them, they weren't at their best in Kansas City. And it kind of felt like, okay, if they were really threatened, they were just kind of toying with the Denver Broncos. It was, I'm not going to say humiliating, but it was disheartening. They're like, these guys aren't playing very well, and they're still comfortable. Mm-hmm. Well, let them have another game like that, and you play better. The Broncos have played better the last couple of weeks. Their defense stood up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now let's get the offense going, trust the running game, and how about a showcase game for Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, and turn all this naysaying that I've been saying about what their worth is and knock it up about 2 draft picks before the deadline on Tuesday.
Yeah, for me, I think this is a game where if the Broncos have a chance, you need to have your best run game performance of the entire year. And what we saw against the Packers, I think there is the ability for that to come. I think the offensive line is probably as confident as they have been in, let's say, years, Scott. I mean, they didn't give up a single sack versus the Packers. They ran the ball extremely well overall. I think this is a unit that is healthy. Knock on wood. Broncos starting the same 5 to start the year as they are right now. I mean, not many teams can say that. And
8 games in a row.
Yeah. So I think that's big for the unit. We want to give a shout out to Zach Streif, the offensive line coach who they brought over, who's been doing some really good things with them. First time offensive line coach. They're doing great. And we'll see how it looks. But I mean, Javonte Williams has been looking good. Samaje Perine in the run game. I see people like, why aren't we getting Javonte more touches? Well, why aren't we getting Jaleel McLaughlin more touches? They're all playing so well that I want them to have all the touches. So I want to see a very even split game. And also something that I saw in this last game that I really liked, honestly, in the last 2 games, Scott, the Broncos have been a little bit more exotic with their offensive personnel and alignment in the run game. Against the Chiefs, the first time we saw a look with overloaded to the right where Garrett Bowles was on the outside shoulder of Mike McGlinchey with a tight end playing in that left tackle spot, and they ran power behind the 2 tackles there. Fun. On this last game against the Packers, we saw Quinn Bailey and a lot of 6th offensive line looks out there. Fun. The Chiefs are missing their best linebacker in Nick Bolton, who I think is the one who had that really good interception off of Russell Wilson in the matchup 2 weeks ago. So I really, really think that this game is hopefully going to be one where Sean Payton's in his bag with the run game, utilizing those different personnel looks. And hopefully the Broncos can be as efficient and effective as they were against the Packers.
Sorry, there's a squirrel climbing up my screen. It sounds like a grizzly bear coming in. You can always know that is it a deer or is it a squirrel? If you can hear it, it's a squirrel. The deer are silent. Those damn squirrels are noisy. Sorry, y'all.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're talking about, the changing things up at this point. It's like, well, what do you have to lose? Have some fun. Go for it. You're gonna have to take some chances. If I've got 4th and 3 on the 45, man, go for it. Why not? So you can gamble, you can take some risks. And again, you need the defense to step up and play like they've played the last couple of weeks. If they revert at all backwards, you don't have a chance. So the defense has to be in this game like they've been the last couple of weeks to have a chance.
Yeah. And they've been playing better. That being said, the Broncos did have a good bit of, I would say, relative luck in that Chiefs game. I mean, how many exotic kind of fun calls did the Chiefs do that didn't work for them, which you kind of mentioned, like playing with your food. maybe they don't do that this week. The Broncos, in the red zone, they were crazy against the Chiefs. I mean, those are things that I don't know how sustainable they are, but at the same time, I don't think the offense will probably play as poor as they did in that first game. So Broncos got a chance in this one. We'll see what happens. Troy Bowers meant to super. Oops. Well, Troy, you corrected that now. So hopefully, we appreciate the correction there.
Nathan says, my 7-year-old son has been telling me he likes the Chiefs. He doesn't understand those are fighting words. It's like, well, you can steer your children. You can manipulate them pretty well. I didn't really tell my kids who to root for, but I had a Braves little mini cup, one of their little helmets as an ice cream dish. And if you wanted ice cream in my house, you had to say, go Braves. So you can like the Chiefs. You can like the Chiefs from your room, and you can have no electronics for a week while you root for the Chiefs. That's fine. It's your choice. Your choice. Hey, Dad, can we go to the movies? Yeah, if Chelsea wins this game. You've never seen two kids root for Chelsea as hard as you can. So there's ways to just go ahead and manipulate them. And Troy, thank you so much for the super chat. We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, shout out to you, Troy. Keeping it back on the Chiefs here. They've been playing really good football. I'm curious to see if the interior offensive line for Denver can keep it up. One guy that you and I were very critical of this season still has limitations, but has been playing a lot better football is Lloyd Cushenberry. We'll see what happens with the offseason with him, but Powers and Miners matchup versus Chris Jones. I mean, Chris Jones is going to have a few reps in this game where he wins. He's a superstar. But let's see if the interior offensive line can neutralize him enough and Russell Wilson protect the damn football. That last game, there were 2 interceptions. One of them specifically was, I think, unacceptable. Did he have a strip sack too?
I would say that was a fumble from the backside, wasn't it? That basically ended the last drive. Was that the right game or was that the Jets?
I think it was the Jets game he fumbled. He had the interception to Bolton in that game where he just tried to fit a ball and that should have seen that guy there, threw it right to him. And there was another one that looked like miscommunication, I believe, to the right sideline. But Russell Wilson protecting the football. And something I want to see in this one too, Scott, is I would have to go back and mess with the tendencies on this, but it feels like the Broncos have not really implemented a shotgun run game compared to the under center run game. And I think if they are going to play against the Chiefs this week, they need to figure out how to work that shotgun run game a little bit more effectively. And I think that says to me, Jaleel McLaughlin, Samaje Perine. I know we want to see more Javonte Williams, but Jaleel's ability to get the ball and go as a jitterbug, you don't have that same momentum as you do as an under center run game. So I want to see more getting the ball quickly to Jaleel McLaughlin. I think he can get his acceleration would be better. So maybe more shotgun with Jaleel and Samaje Perine as well, just because of his ability out of the backfield. I mean, he's not dynamic, so to speak, but if you get Samaje Perine the ball against a linebacker, he's been doing some good things this season. So shotgun run game, I think that's something I would be looking forward to specifically in this game and charting that.
And just checking out this this comment here from Dom. He says Russ turns the ball over so much for a vet, it's bananas. I think this goes into the tunnel vision that we have for our own players, because I was looking at this yesterday. He's got 3 fumbles, and I'm not positive those are lost fumbles. So let's just say they are. But he's like only 5th or 6th in the NFL in interceptions. His stats, season leaders, I go and I click on this guy and I sort by interceptions. He's got 4, I think. See, it's got too many. I'm on the wrong spot. It's got too many, but I think he's got 4 interceptions on the year, which puts him like 10th, which isn't too bad. And then if I click on touchdown passes, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's 5th. He's 5th in the NFL in touchdown passes and only like 6th or 7th in interceptions. He's actually not giving the ball away that much. He's playing good football. Is it good enough? Again, he's the trade and the contract are a standard that he's never going to live up to. It's just, it's that ship has sailed now. So what can you get out of him? Is he playing much better? Yes, he is. And his numbers overall, there's some, it just feels like more, I guess, because the games are close and the turnovers that have happened have been pretty noticeable. The Melvin Gordon syndrome was like, he doesn't fumble a ton, but by God, it happens when you can least afford it.
And how many fumbles does he have on the year? That's
3. I think he's got 3. Just looking at I can't sort by fumbles lost. I can't find that one, but it's and I think they assume they're fumbles lost because he's got 3. He had 14 fumbles lost in 2017 to go along with I can't find the interceptions. This is a long one. Why wouldn't you have that right here too? You got touchdowns. Oh, those rushing touchdowns, rushing and receiving advanced.
I
All
see
these big spreadsheets I'm trying to find in a hurry. What was that? 2017, I said?
Yeah.
He had 11 interceptions and like 14 fumbles. That's 25 turnovers.
Yeah.
He's got, 7 through 7 games. Multiply that by 2, 14, round up, call it 17. You're talking 17 total turnovers. There's guys with 8 turnovers already. Hell, Desmond Ridder, I think, has 11 turnovers already. Something crazy. But it's not that much, honestly. He's having a pretty good year.
Yeah. I think he's bumping his head against top 10 play. There's just a lot of good quarterbacks in the league right now. There are limitations, but really, I mean, he looks like a somewhat of a muted version of himself at Seattle. You're not getting the same level of the explosives from him. You're not getting the same level of plays with his legs right now. He just doesn't have the same burst, twitch that he had back then. But overall, the offense has been, outside of the Kansas City game, the offense has been efficient. My biggest complaint with Wilson is that, and this is definitely a quarterback thing, I think they've done a really good job of moving the ball in the 20s. Once they get in the red zone, though, the red zone offense for Denver has to be one of the bottom 5 in the NFL. They just have not been able to be efficient once the defense gets more compressed. So that's something we're looking for in this game. Would they go 1 for 4 last week? It's just not been good in the red zone.
And to your point, Nick, I think the fact that it feels so conservative. How are you turning the ball over when you've got the lowest yards per completion and the lowest yards per attempt of your entire career? Why are you turning the ball over when you're only throwing the ball 5 or 6 yards? I think that helps make it feel, because you're not getting those big plays to go with it. When you're airing it out and you're making big plays, it doesn't feel as bad because it balances out, but it's not really to like you're saying. But he's still getting the touchdowns are there, but they're for the most part short touchdowns. Robot of Doom says, if we want to talk about a QB underperforming his contract, how about Deshaun Watson? Oof, we should be happy with Russ. You don't necessarily have to be happy with Russ, but you can be thankful you didn't make the Deshaun Watson move. And oh my God, what a risk. We talk about San Francisco and Trey Lance and 3 first-round draft picks for a guy who played 1 year of D2 football or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But how about $250 million guaranteed and 3 first-round draft picks plus for a guy who hadn't played in over a year? Oof. Yeah. It's hard to go to a new franchise and on a new contract with all that pressure, let alone we haven't played out. You saw it with Russell Wilson. It's not easy. He's playing much better his second year. This is Deshaun's first full year. It's be glad you're not Cleveland. You don't have to be happy with Russ. Doesn't make Russ any better. But that's a tough one.
It is definitely tough. We'll see. We got Michael coming in saying, great show today, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. We appreciate that. Thank you so much for the super chat and the support, Michael. As always, we really, really do enjoy you coming in and contributing, of course, and hopefully we can get you at the meet and greet next year. But yeah, Scott, any other keys to this Chiefs game before we move on to, I just want to talk quickly about the Jordan Reed's first mock draft.
Oh, at 59 minutes, let's get into the mock draft. No, keys to the game. I mean, again, you're going to have to get a little lucky. Take some risks. You can't go man to man with them and beat them. Really, you're going to have to take some risks, get a little lucky, go get some 4th down conversions, have a ball bounce your way. Hasn't seemed to in a while. Eliminate them, and then you just get into your cliches. Eliminate the penalties, run the football, defend the run, keep them in 3rd and long. All those, they're cliches for a reason. Don't let somebody else beat you, I guess I might say. If Travis Kelce gets his for 150 yards, so be it, but limit everybody else. Sometimes you're willing to let Michael Jordan get 40 as long as the other guys didn't pop in 80 points. But no, I mean, it's going to take not a perfect game, but it's going to take by far your best game of the season, and you've been in it. Mm-hmm. You've been in it. Now let's get a little lucky and end that streak.
Yeah. Got to get a little lucky. Hopefully the ball bounces away. I mean, one big special teams play, you can see it. And we got North Coots coming in saying, I believe. We'll see what happens with this game. Protect the ball and play complimentary football, and things can happen. I think the defense has probably a little bit of confidence after success last week or 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs. So hopefully that'll help. Real quick here, we don't have a lot of times left. We had Jordan Reid's mock draft coming in. ESPN, Jordan Reid does his first mock draft of the entire year. Based on ESPN's FPI, they predicted out the rest of the season from this point forward, and they had the Broncos ending up with the 3rd overall draft pick with that. Right now, the Broncos have the 4th pick, so they're predicting the Broncos probably only winning 1 or 2 more games, and he has the Broncos selecting quarterback Drake May with the 3rd overall pick. Jordan Reid wrote that after a disastrous 5-12 season in 2022, Broncos are once again struggling through the first half of the 2023 campaign. Yes, Russell Wilson is playing better, but he hasn't totally clicked with new head coach Sean Payton and is outside the top 20 in QBR at 46.1. Wilson's contract makes things tricky when it comes to adding another signal caller, but May is simply too good to pass up. In fact, the quarterback 1 race isn't quite over, as May could make up ground on Caleb Williams. May has a good arm and has been an effective downfield passer this season with 26 completions of 20-plus yards. So Broncos going quarterback here. I think if you have a chance at Caleb Williams or Drake May, you take them. And sorry, Colin, too early for this stuff. Well, we saved it for the last 5 minutes of the show, so hopefully you got enough other stuff here. But Drake May going there at 3 overall. Scott, if the board fell this way, I would probably take Drake May as well at this spot. I don't think there's much of a debate on who they go with. If this
You'd snatch his hand off to take it right now. Here's the card. I'm sitting there waiting. I'm standing at the edge of the podium waiting for the buzzer to go off. If you know, it shouldn't take very long. But you're taking your quarterback here if he's available. If you're top 3, top 4, they use the FPI on this. I don't know how they had the Vikings drafting at 21 with the FPI. That one kind of caught me by surprise. But that's why it had the Broncos at 3, and it had the Cardinals taking Marvin Williams. So
Marvin
that
Harrison.
Drake May was available at 3.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Thank you. Marvin Williams was old. Who's Marvin Williams? Marvin Williams was an old shooting guard for the Atlanta Hawks. I think he was a draft pick out of UNC or Duke. Sorry. Starts going together. Small forward for the Atlanta Hawks. Marvin Harrison Jr. Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison, Drake May. I take him at 3. Yes, you may.
Yeah, I mean,
taking Drake May. You've got it. If you're in a position where you've got the record to draft top 3 and a 34-year-old quarterback, you take your quarterback. It doesn't matter how well Russell Wilson's playing.
Yeah, and I think that both the quarterbacks are good enough that you'd be okay with them. I don't think either of them are Trevor Lawrence level, but they're very special quarterbacks. I don't know if you've seen the stats about Caleb Williams' ability we talked about Russell Wilson, how much pressures are like his fault. So much for Caleb Williams this year. It's like almost like the nth degree of what the issues are with Russell Wilson holding onto the football. Some of that is needing to play hero ball with USC's defense. There are some bad tendency with Caleb Williams, but I mean, he's just so gifted. Teams will love the traits and the tools. So we'll see what happens. I'd be surprised if any of Williams or May fall outside of the top 3. Interestingly, here in this draft, we had Marvin Harrison Jr. going number 2 overall. Scott, I know we've had our debates about wide receiver value versus offensive tackle value and stuff like that. But for me, I think both of those positions are close enough, in my opinion, that in this scenario, I just take the guy that I think is the better prospect. Mm-hmm. Olu's amazing. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a tier above. So if both quarterbacks are gone, Broncos are picking 3. I know we're kind of in a weird spot with, quarterback and everything, but you have a chance to take arguably what looks like a potential top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Take the wide receiver here, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, it depends. It goes down to your board, your evaluation on that. Mm-hmm. If I have them equal and I needed offensive line, and if I needed a wide receiver and I needed offensive line, I'd go offensive lineman first. Mm-hmm. That's just the way I'm built. Trenches. The wide receiver doesn't bother me. And I know the Cincinnati Bengals were a nice exception to that rule where they're giving up 100 sacks, but they've got great weapons. But still, I just think the offensive line play is more steady week to week, season to season, the longevity of the player, et cetera. So the things I can do with the running game, all of it for me is is better. But if your wide receiver is a better prospect, then so be it. The Caleb Williams slide thing, listen, when you've got a guy who's been hyped as the number 1 pick for 2 years, people are going to get tired of it and they're going to start picking him to pieces. I will be absolutely floored if he's not 1 or 2. Floored. If he's not the 1 or 2 pick, despite the fact of we're going to make stuff up about his dad saying he wants part ownership. That's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. He's not able to do this. He's not able to do this. Well, we had a guy go 3rd overall for 3 first-round draft picks that hadn't even played more than a season of Division II football. Last year at this time, C.J. Stroud was this guy and this guy and this guy. But a year before, he was 1 or 2. Well, guess where he ended up going after everybody got done picking him to pieces? 2. So he's going 1 or 2.
Yeah. The other big takeaway I had from this draft, so 1, 2, 3, I think the right guys came off the board. Even if the Broncos still have Bowles or and McGlinchey, I wouldn't have an issue with taking a tackle here. Just get the best 5 guys out there. If Mike McGlinchey's the most expensive swing tackle in NFL history, I don't give a damn. I need a building block piece here unless somebody offers me something unbelievable on a trade back. But I wouldn't have an issue with that. Taking the tackle if those 3 guys are gone. Olu Fashanu is incredible. So is Joe Alt. Worth a shout out here.
Dude, I get Fashanu and $16 million by cutting Garrett Bowles. Guess what's going to happen?
Probably cutting.
You're cutting Garrett Bowles and taking $16 million and trying to invest it someplace in your roster, and you're plugging that rookie in at left tackle.
You can probably trade Bowles for
but you know what I mean. If you're sitting at 5 and Fashanu's on the board, you're taking him.
Yeah.
Because unless for some reason you've already restructured that contract or given him an extension, which you might have because you got to go into free agency before you go into the draft. But one thing we know is Garrett Bowles is not playing on that contract next year for the Denver Broncos. Things are going to change there. And 2, one of the top 5 picks in this draft is going to be an offensive tackle.
Yep. And I would say 2 of the top 7. Joe Alt also comes off the board quickly after that. A Notre Dame offensive tackle. I'm very much, maybe this is very college opinion on this, but get the best 5 out there. If you trust your offensive line coach, you have enough intelligent guys out there. I mean, I wouldn't even be against a 1-year sample size of Bowles at left tackle, left guard Powers, Miners getting a shot at center, your first round pick right tackle at right guard for a year, and then right tackle being McGlinchey or whatever. Just get the best 5 out there. It's about the long term when you're drafting that early. After that, though, you had Joe Alt come off the board. Dallas Turner, who I'm glad to see Reid also has as his number 1 defensive prospect in this draft class, edge rusher from Alabama. And then, of course, Brock Bowers. Scott, we have a lot of time left to go, and I'm not going to say anything definitively about this, but I think I tweeted you this yesterday. There's like a top 4 in this class where it's Fashanu, Harrison Jr., and the quarterbacks. After that, there's 3 prospects I really like in Bowers, Alt, and Turner. Draft pick 8 through like 24. Fucking oopsie. Drawing names out of a hat. Pardon my French there. I mean, I am going to have a really hard time sorting those guys out. So that's kind of where I'm at in the draft class right now. If you can get a top 7 pick, that's great. If you're moving outside of the top 7, then you better make a damn well trade, because I think pick 8 through 20 is about the same guys. And yeah, Quentin's laughing at me today. That's too much black coffee, Scott.
Okay, I'm making a note on where I need to edit the podcast. So
I typically don't do that, but yeah, excuse me. So Dave just gave us the like. Garth Knight comments, people love Caleb Williams. I don't get it, but I also thought Tim Duncan would be a bust. Yeah, we woke up Ethan. It is a little bit of a little grab ass there. I think I can say that for the Broncos.
You better be on your best behavior now.
So anyway,
young man.
Any final thoughts, Scott, as we wrap it on up here?
No, with the kind of luck I have, if 8 is where the draft starts to break, you will be drafting 8th. You start worrying about quarterbacks then. You start reaching for a quarterback. Penix, J.J. McCarthy. Who else in there? Bo Nix.
Jaden Daniels has been playing awesome this year. So you start thinking about that, because, I mean, ideally you want to come out as we talked about. When does this team really compete for a playoff? When are they a legit playoff contender? And I said 2026. So did you, assuming you get a quarterback.
That's a big assumption. It's not that easy, is it, Broncos country? You know how hard that can be.
Yeah. Yes, it did, and appreciate you guys giving me a little grace there on the dropping of the curse bomb there. Luckily, it's at the very end.
Yeah, the kids should be at school. This should be an adults-only show.
Well, we were talking about 4 to 5 inches earlier, whatever that means, of the snow happening in Denver coming up here. But guys, we appreciate you. Time for us to get on out of here. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scott Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at BFB_pod as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, follow us also at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And of course, subscribe, like, and share over on YouTube. Appreciate everybody coming in with the super chats today. We had Gary Palmer, Quentin Caldwell, Michael Ronquillo, Ken and HB, Garth Knight a couple times, Michael Ronquillo, and of course, Ethan coming in here saying, I'll support that, Nick. Appreciate you, Ethan. Heck, if it takes just a few F-bombs to get a few more super chats in here, then I'm in, baby. I need to work on my potty mouth, Scott. I got the little guy coming, and I can turn into a sailor real quick.
Yeah, when they drop a perfectly contextual GD on you, you'll know it's time to start watching your mouth. And, unfortunately, we grew up with the radio era with clean music on. I don't have anything I can listen to we listened to like movie soundtracks for like 10 years in my car. Now they're 12 and 14. Yeah, we're listening to all the stuff that I want to listen to now. And I've just explained to them. Joey LaGuardia coming. Appreciate you, Ethan. The Fisk, the chefs, is part of growing older and knowing all the bad words is knowing when you can and cannot use them.
Well, appreciate everybody. Yeah, it's definitely slipped here. I guess that kind of really shows my thoughts on that, Scott. I'm looking at the names after pick 7, and it's like, I don't effing know. I mean, I got some guys that I like.
I had HR called on me for my potty mouth on the phone when I first moved to LA. I'm like, good Lord. Oh, I got to get out of here.
Well, guys, as I always like to say, make sure you continue to choose compassion and kindness. Have a great effing day. Go Broncos.